What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll. Back with you for another week, talking about kind of Social Security benefits, disability, and it is Poverty Awareness Month, so that's why we kind of wanted to throw that in there. And also going to be a lot of changes, I think, coming up from the new administration and things. So just some stuff to look out for, and we can talk about for the day. I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident. Coming up on 21 years on Friday, actually, it'll be my anniversary. So,
Wow, wow,
Damn.
wow.
Well, happy early life day, bro.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys. uh,
Finally able to
what?
said you're finally able to drink.
Oh yeah, my disability is finally of age, and that's my half life too, because I'm turned 42 in November. So now I'm.
Damn, that's a big one. You should make a gin and tonic or something.
I don't think I'll be doing either for the 21 celebration, but
All right, I'll have one for you since you're forcing my hand.
all right, you can do it in honor of of my
I'll do one
Um,
for I'll do one for you. Tom and I will get online. We'll do it.
yeah,
We'll FaceTime each other and then we'll pop it up to you.
sounds good. to me. Sounds good. I'm Tom Conaway, C6B quadriplegic here in chilly Southern California. And this is the topic that I study a lot and am very passionate about. So I'm excited to dive in and talk about it today. Bobby?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. I'm glad you're back with us this week. We missed you last week, but
Yeah, sorry
Bobby
about that
Rohan,
last week.
yeah, you
Go
had
ahead,
your
Bob.
doctor's appointment. Yeah, but we missed you. Just wanted to shout that out. And uh,
Appreciate
but
it.
I'm Bobby Rohan, C5, C6 quadriplegic. 35 years. So thinking about it, you're coming up to your 50-50, Shawn.
yeah.
I've doubled mine, but mine's not as long. I'm 17. So I've already doubled it last year. I was just thinking about that. Like, oh man, I've relived it twice.
Yeah, thinking about that.
So
Yeah, Tom's into like his he's
I've
working
like
that
yeah,
quadruple,
you're like,
quintuple.
yeah, no kidding. Uh, but here in California, like Tom said, it's a little nippy for us Southern California people. We might have to, stay inside after 8 o'clock. It's a little
Yeah.
nippy out there.
And I'd say it's chilly. I was like sitting out in like beautiful blue sky and sunshine. Like it's just the air is kind of cold. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Just when you're in the sun, it's nice, but when you're in the shade, you're like, okay. Ooh. So,
yeah.
uh,
shout out Graciela and Leon. Ben, thank you, Ben, for reminding everybody to hit that like button. What up, Crypto Rob? Chris, thanks everybody for joining. What up, Leah? And
oh,
yeah,
I was going to tell
poverty.
Chris, yes, we will be there at the show. I will be there. He messaged me on Instagram, and yep, I'll be there, bud. Don't worry.
Where
But go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
sorry, yeah, I'm trying to highlight everybody. It's going through. um, but yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate all you guys hanging out in the chat today. And if you guys have any comments or anything, any questions you guys want to mention, definitely put them in the chat. We'll get to any questions, and we'd love to have your input for just any comments. So yeah, appreciate all you
Um, is it cool if we dive in? I
dive
kind of
in.
got some talking
You
points. I
start.
think like a good. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say you start. Like you said, you're pretty passionate. I don't know a lot, and so this is going to be new for me too, and what directions we go into. So take it away, Tom.
I think a good place to start is let's talk about why a lot of disabled individuals end up in more difficult financial situations than maybe an able-bodied person. Why is that more common? And lots of different reasons. Disabled people face a lot of unique challenges that contribute to higher rates of poverty. And I think we can just dive into some of those. Limited employment opportunities, higher medical and caregiving costs, um, I don't know if I got a whole list of them and lots of notes on different ones, but I don't know if I should go through all of them or if we want to talk about some of
Well,
these like finer points
can
as we go
you
through.
know, and kind of what you said, why is it? I think, to start with, Tom, we start from day one, our injury. And a lot of us have an injury at a young age. I was 17. Uh, Tom, you were 4. And so, uh, I mean, unlike Tom, I was thankful that, I worked at Baskin Robbins, I worked at Subway, and I worked in the mall at a Crystal store, and was able to build up some kind of social security. Um, but for the most part, a lot of teens don't, you know, maybe not get into social security. So when you do have your accident, and as it is, you have to wait 2 years later before you can collect on it. And because you didn't work that long and not a high paying job, it was nothing for me. So starting, I think number one is the age that we get hurt. Shawn was 21. Did you do much work experience, Shawn?
I had some work experience. I had worked. Well, I mean, I had worked since I was just before turning 18, when I was 17. And yeah, I worked at Countrywide Home Loans for several years.
Collecting a
That's where I
1099?
was. That's where I was hurt. That's where I was working when I got hurt. So like I had a few years of work experience and putting into the system. Yeah.
Right. And then I think if you are an adult in a work environment, a lot of people don't think that this is going to happen, right, Tom? So they don't know that, oh, I can afford this insurance and I don't need, this or that. And so they find out when they get hurt, their insurances don't cover hardly anything. It might cover some of the hospital stay, maybe some of the rehab, but none of the equipment. Going home with, no rehab equipment, nothing, and nothing to fall back on, and maybe not even being able to return to work. I think those things start with what you're talking about, Tom.
And Chris made a really, really good point, which I think is something that everybody with a disability faces, which is increased costs, higher medical. And I think something that for like more chronically injured individuals, caregiving costs are so often overlooked, but are such a huge financial burden on a lot of individuals because on top of treatments for medical care, we often deal with a lot of very intense, complex treatments that cost a lot of money. You said it, Bobby. Assistive devices, accessible equipment, just like tons and tons of things in your household that, you build up and accrue at first, especially, but then, over the rest of your life, dealing with your disability, it's kind of an ongoing thing. I've been getting back to therapy and stuff. I've been doing a lot of physical and occupational therapy, mental health therapy. I mean, I looked at like the total of my copays for this last year, and it's a ridiculous sum of money. And those are just the copays.
Yeah.
And then there's caregiving costs on top of that. Fortunately, here in California, we do have programs like in-home supportive services that can support you, but not everyone qualifies for, the reality of like the amount of care that they need and very often have to supplement out of pocket just because of how the system is set up. So I think those factors are also huge in contributing to just an additional financial burden on individuals with disabilities that often people don't have in their everyday life if you don't have a disability.
Yeah.
Do you get
And Gretchen said, which is pretty much true, common misconception. We want to be living on SSI or SSDI. Returning to the workplace post SCI is difficult, and not only is it difficult to one find a job, but two also managing your body sometimes too. It's a strain to get on. When I worked in the wheelchair industry for 6 years, and I had to be at work at 8 o'clock, 5 days a week. Holy shnikes, man. Thank God I was in my 20s, but man, after a while, it just got difficult. And from then on, every time I went back to, get a new job here or there, it was more about, I'm trying to work only 4 days a week because 5 days a week was killing me. So luckily, I was able to find a couple jobs that they cater to that 4 days a week. So yeah, not only is it hard to get a job out there, but it's also hard to just maintain it.
Yeah.
Well, that's another huge factor: inability to work full time. Depending on what your disability is, a lot of individuals, just like you said, Bobby, even if you are healthy, even if you're strong, even if you're taking good care of yourself, it can still be a difficult reality to work 5 days a week. And but if you don't, then you're putting yourself in maybe a tougher financial position. But if you do, you're putting yourself at higher health risk. And like where's the balance? Where's the happy middle? And hopefully people can find a happy middle that works. But finding that is really difficult and sometimes not a realistic possibility for individuals. So I think it's a really important point that you bring up, Bobby. Inability to work full time. I do want to. We were talking about social safety nets. Things like SSI, things like in-home supportive services, um, SNAP, EBT to help like offset food costs and stuff. Those are all great programs. I think they. I mean, they're incredible programs for what they do and the purpose and what they serve. But oftentimes they're not adequate programs, meaning they only get you part of the way there and then you're still stuck struggling or stressing or trying to figure out the rest of it. Like let's say you're in a situation like myself. I did not work 10 quarters to qualify for SSDI, so I'm stuck with SSI benefits if I you know require them or receive them. And if you live in California, I mean, SSI benefits are barely enough to pay, not even enough to pay rent, let alone pay for food, pay for anything on top of that. And that can certainly put you in a really, really difficult situation. So I think a lot of the social safety nets, like social welfare programs that are in place, I do think it's amazing that they exist, and I'm glad that they exist. And people have worked really, really long time to build these up and to make them something meaningful for individuals in a difficult situation. But I still think that in a lot of ways they're inadequate, specifically when it comes to supporting disabled
Well,
individuals.
yeah,
Go
definitely. You're totally right. And I think it works for those who are probably more able than the average, quad, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Even a lot of paraplegics, and I saw it somewhere who added the CP, Gracella, having CP too, it does not give you enough on that SSDI. It works well for those who are have financial difficulties. Maybe they might have recovering addict and they have two kids. They're a single mom, and yeah, those other program those work for them. The SNAP program works for us, but for someone who's living a chair life doesn't work so well. And
Well, there's
it's
even discrimination among certain programs. Like, let's take SNAP for example. SNAP allows you to purchase groceries to, if you can't afford it. It's like a credit card that the state gives you. They load funds onto it, every 2 weeks or every month, and you can use that to buy groceries, but only for cold, unprepared food. While that may be adequate for a family that has able-bodied parents that could like cook or afford food or have like a place or a kitchen where they can prepare it, a lot of disabled individuals, maybe that's one of their difficulties, is even preparing food, and their inability to get prepared food using SNAP or EBD benefits, I think, is a huge drawback, a huge barrier to someone successfully utilizing that social welfare program. And I don't know, it's things like that where I think there's just certain discrepancies that certainly governments are afraid of people taking advantage of, but again, there certainly can be checks and balances in place to better regulate these programs to ensure that the individuals that really need them are receiving them, and those that are maybe trying to take advantage don't. And it's a very gray area. I mean, I wish that like everyone could just be taking care of whatever their needs are, but the reality is a very different thing. But there are certain inadequacies with currently existing social welfare programs that I think do discriminate against particularly disabled individuals, which when they're making these programs and like putting things into law, they're just not having the conversations. They're not thinking about it. They don't know anybody with a disability that maybe faces these difficulties, or at least don't know them well enough to really truly understand those difficulties that are hard to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris, you said it. We are blessed to live here in Southern California. We're complaining about the cold today. We're freaking 60 degrees. Come on. The rest of the country, I mean, our friend Paul last week was telling us it was minus 36 Celsius, which is just, unheard of for a quad to just even want to even peek their head out, let alone. So, but with the bless of, our coldest day is 60, it is so freaking expensive to live here. And everything is just that much more. It's kind of like you might as well. And I think it was somebody just got back from Hawaii. I believe it was Tony. Um, it's like living in Hawaii. If you ever go to Hawaii, you always just see everything so much more expensive. Let me ask you this. Maybe it might be personal or not, or if you know about it, Tom. Meals on Wheels. Do we qualify for those kind of programs? Now I
Um,
know for the elderly, but I was wondering if we qualify for having a disability. Never looked
uh,
into that.
I haven't looked into it either personally. I do know some disabled folk that received some meals during like COVID and stuff. Things were very different back then, and there was a lot of like social welfare programs, at least like local ones that were like really ramping up and reaching out to try to make sure that everyone's needs were being met, especially for disabled people that weren't that were like at very high risk of like leaving the house and getting groceries and getting food at restaurants and stuff. I do know that there were some meal programs that were like delivering meals, but they were mostly organized by like temples or like local churches and like groups like that are like very local. And I think just out of the grace and kindness of everyday people, not so much like government or social welfare programs. I know Meals on Wheels is like a private thing. I don't think they're subsidized by the government. I could be wrong though. So I don't know for sure, but I do
It's
think
something,
if you,
it's something we should do research on a little bit. It would be
yeah,
an option for those with disability. When you are on, low income, and it makes a great help. And my parents, we got it for my parents during the COVID, um, until they, you know, they like to eat junk food, and that was the problem. But what I saw delivered each week, they were like pretty good looking meals. I mean,
yeah.
it's maybe not your style. I know everybody has like, the certain things they like, and you're not always, but you do get choices. They're like, oh, we got this or we got this, and which one do you want? Here we got more chicken for you because I heard you like chicken, so I grabbed more chicken for you. So they do try, and that was for my parents, but it'd be interesting to look for it.
I want to shout out some comments. Jay, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it, dude. Said my haircut's looking nice. Um, we had another question. What up, wheelchair
Yeah.
raver?
Yeah.
Has anybody heard of the Able Account program? Yes, I have. If you haven't heard of the Able Account program, it can be difficult to save assets as an individual with disability that receives Social Security or other benefits from social programs like that. But the Able Account is a program that it's a special account that you can make that does allow you to save money, and that money that goes into the Able account can't work against your eligibility to receive those benefits. So, just to give an example, if I have more than $2,000 in my bank account at any time, I'll lose my Social Security. Um, the Able account would allow me to save up to $50,000 in that account without it having to affect my benefits or risk losing my SSI or my in-home supportive services, things like that. And I think it's a really amazing program, and it is certainly a step forward to offering an opportunity for disabled individuals to save money.
Yeah,
Uh,
A
and
great program.
anybody who doesn't, sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Now I was gonna say, yeah, the Able accounts are a great program for people to look into, because yeah, if you're trying to save for anything or just you know there are a lot of reasons why you could get some money that's over your amount. Like the able accounts are just really a great thing to have and look into. So, go ahead, Bobby. Yeah.
And yeah, and on top of that, they are and yeah, David, I thought that was right. It's up to 100,000, um, and they walk you through everything. They have seminars almost like every week to help you manage your money and help you to through this program. So it's a program that they're there to help you understand. Unlike Social Security, where you have to wait on the phone for what 9 hours before you get hung up on, and then have to call back again tomorrow, and wondering what the hell is going on, and just for one little simple question. But they really do work very hard. I get the emails all the time. I wanted to learn a little more about it, and I don't qualify for it, but I looked into it for other people, and I just see in my web emails another seminar on this and seminar on that. And so there's a lot of ways to really get to understand this program if you need it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources, information online, and really encourage anyone to do the work, put in the research. Like you can certainly learn a lot. I think that could end up benefiting you in the long run. But really, the only way to do it is to put in the time, put in the research, and also talk to other people or maybe utilizing certain benefits or programs that you're unaware of. I've learned a lot from just talking to other disabled folk about how they're managing, how they're living, how they, like manage it all, and learn about things that I wouldn't otherwise have known if I wasn't able or willing to have the conversation. So things like support groups and stuff are great to learn more about possible, things that could benefit you in your life.
Hmm.
Um, Crypto Rob also pointed out we were talking about SNAP and EBT earlier and access to hot food. Um, you said that certain restaurants like Fatburger, Jack in the Box, are starting to accept EBT. I do know that that's true here in California. And I think it's a step forward. I just wish we weren't consigned to like Fatburger and Jack in the Box. Like it's already difficult enough to maintain a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle and healthy weight. When the only accessible hot food to you without preparation is fast food, it's 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 discouraging. I think it's odd that these private companies have deals with state and federal programs to get taxpayer money into their business when they probably wouldn't otherwise be receiving those funds. And that just feels kind of icky to me. But also, I think that forcing us to only have access to fast food that's like hot and prepared is also discriminatory. It puts us in a difficult situation, or a lot of people in a difficult situation where they don't have the option for a healthier choice. And we should have that option, especially with our condition of like with already so many health issues that we have to constantly deal with. I think it's really important. And so I am aware that there are options. You can request like a hot food option when you do sign up for SNAP or EBT. But I think we can do better. I think we should do better. And it would be, I don't know, cost saving in the long run to, all live healthier lifestyles and not deal with more complex health issues as a result of this. Another thing that I do want to talk about, which I think is really, really important, I hear people talk about it all the time, which is the disability benefits trap that a lot of us fall into. And this is not something that's, I don't know, I have a lot of conversation about with like other disabled individuals, but I'm not really like a social conversation about it, which is what is a disability benefits trap? It's where, in order to qualify for disability benefits in certain states, certain countries, it inadvertently discourages people from trying to work because if they earn too much income, they might lose their benefits, and the amount of work they would have to put in isn't realistic to offset or outweigh what they receive from their benefits. So I don't know. I would have to make a lot of money in order to. I don't know, the amount that I receive in just in-home supportive services, like thousands of dollars a month. add SSI on top of that, I'd have to be working full time, and I still likely wouldn't be able to make enough just to afford my caregiving expenses. That's not talking about food. That's not talking about rent. That's not talking about anything else. And that's, again, I feel like discriminatory. How trying to get back to work, trying to be more self sufficient, and it can actually work against you. How there's not more nuance, how there's not better regulatory agency to allow for an individual to work part time and still receive meaningful benefits. I can't quite understand, but I think it's really awful that it exists that way. Because I know a lot of people that live within this trap and have for a long, long time, and even have the desire to work. They want to try to save more money, or like save up for a house or save up for something to move or travel, but they can't because of this. So yeah, you guys have any experience with that? Any thoughts that you like to share?
Mm, I don't.
Well, I mean,
And
I
I
go ahead, Bobby.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Sean. I don't.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, I for sure understand that, like the trap of it, and like it's just, and like Gretchen had mentioned in the in the chat about like the stigma of being on on disability and things and getting benefits, and like it all of it's hard to deal with for somebody that's like especially newly disabled, and then you're having to like get on the benefits and then trying to either get off of them or make them work, and like you're like it's just it's a really hard balance to try to figure out for people. And I was gonna real quick also just mention somebody in the chat had asked about the difference between a able account and the special needs trust. um, the
Yeah.
special needs trust is, this is just my basic understanding of it. The special needs trust, I believe, is controlled by somebody else in your family, so that's not something to be set up through like an attorney, and that you don't directly have access to. You have somebody else that can deposit and withdrawal and whatever things from there. The able account, as far as I know, is your account set up through like the government, like you have the access to it. You can make the deposits on it. You can but I'm not 100% sure because I don't. I actually did have a special needs trust for a short period of time after my dad passed away, to keep some extra money come in. But yeah, so I don't know that much about the difference, but
Also,
I know
it's
that's
also, yeah, in special needs trust, I believe, helps protect you from uh, certain things. Like if you pass away, that's not going to, I believe it's something of government can't touch. Um, so it would go directly to whoever you have secondary as your special needs trust. But I bet you the Cal Able probably has some restrictions where you might not have them for the special needs trust. So some to check out. I think that was wheelchair. Where is it? Wheelchair Raver, I believe.
Gold was the one that asked about the difference, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
had asked about the able account initially.
And I think Goldman said,
And
yeah, some about the fast food is terrible. I was just trying to look up to see if I can find what is available, where we can use it. Uh, each state is a little bit different. There is a number you can call to find out uh, where you can. And somebody says here El Pollo Loco, not to say it's better than like let's going to McDonald's, because somebody put down McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Subway. It's like all those are Jack and the Crack, and I want to say even at Del Taco um, has it, because I saw the sign, I thought, the other day driving by one, but somebody said El Pollo Loco, so I think it's just something you can look up. And then I found a website that says, for a restaurant uh, to apply for that program. So if you go to a restaurant that you enjoy, maybe you can bring that in and say, hey, can you apply for this? It would really help me out. And I bet you it helps out the restaurants. There's got to be some break for them to be a part of that program. Or I don't think, just anybody would just do it like a McDonald's who charges what, $10 for a small fry.
I think it's maybe more difficult for smaller privately owned restaurant businesses to get involved in this program. Again, I don't know how a business would. I find it oddly suspicious that the only businesses that do are large conglomerate fast food organizations. I just, something inside, like, the hackles are rising, like, oh, this feels weird. This feels like lobbying behind, the scenes. This feels like maybe it is a difficult process for maybe like smaller locally owned businesses to apply for this and have it as a payment option for them. And like, because why wouldn't they? Like, why wouldn't there be more, healthier local businesses that have it? If it was easy to get and be an additional revenue stream, why wouldn't they? Like, I think maybe the process of getting enrolled to receive those benefits is difficult. And the only ones who have been able to are, again, these large conglomerate fast food chains that have lots and lots of money to lobby with politicians and to maybe have a conversation behind the scenes that, would allocate the majority of those funds to them versus local businesses and stuff that might support healthier living. But again, I don't know for sure, and this is just my thoughts and my assumptions and
And you're
my
probably right. Yeah, you're
yeah
probably right. But there is a reason why it's the big guys that are out there doing it, like Taco Hell and Pizza
yeah
Hut. They don't do it for
yeah
shits and giggles.
exactly.
And,
So
I did have
go
a.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I just have one quick question. If she can answer it, Mickey, you said you get Meals on Wheels, $4.50. Is that for all three meals of your, or is that just like a dinner? It's $4.50 each meal, she said. And was that because of your age or because of being disabled at home and not able to cook? Just curious about that.
Yeah.
While we wait on Mickey to respond, I do want to address a couple other comments. Chris, Mr. Iron Chair, pointed out vocational rehab services, through the Department of Rehab. It's an awesome, awesome, incredible program that can help eliminate some of the barriers to getting back to employment, by providing easier access to education, by providing you transportation to and from the place where you're getting your vocational training via your education and or afterwards your workplace, and help defeating some of the barriers that might make your workplace less accessible. The Department of Rehab is a program here in California, and I know other states. It's a state-run program that is designed in place to help disabled individuals get back to work by eliminating some of those barriers that make it difficult for us. So the Department of Rehab helped me receive my education and without getting really any debt as a result of it. And it's a really, really incredible program. So I really encourage anybody to look into the Department of Vocational Rehab. Um, Even if you're not in California, I have done some research and I know the program does exist in other states. I don't know if it exists in every state, but it is certainly something to look into.
And then also Tony brought up that there are some great videos on YouTube explaining the differences. I
Yes.
think he's talking about the Cal Able versus the other one we were talking about.
The special needs
Special Needs Trust.
trust or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And we are throwing a lot of words and a lot of knowledge at you guys, and it's very like surface knowledge. So if we are touching on a topic that we aren't going into enough detail about, or if you want to learn more about it, like I said earlier, do some research, do some Googling, even here on YouTube. If you just type it into the search, some keywords that relate to what it is you want to learn more about. I know that There are tons and tons of really informative, awesome, good like videos that can give you more in-depth knowledge on just some of the stuff that we're touching on here today. And it might be even a good idea for Live to Roll to make some more of these standalone videos where we're just having, you know, a conversation, a more detailed conversation about some of these services and programs. But hey, we'll think about that for 2025. A couple other things that can put us in this poverty trap. When I say us, I mean disabled individuals. Isolation and limited support systems. I know that a lot of the folks that, not a lot, but some of the folks that tune in to Live to Roll do live in more rural areas. They are isolated from uh, regular society in a more meaningful way because it's not easier to get out. Maybe there aren't transportation services available to get to and from work, or even to more um, like city areas where there are more opportunities to work. Isolation and limited support for these individuals that live in more rural areas or just homebound as a result of their disability can put a huge boulder on trying to move forward and advance with education or career opportunities or even just any kind of work opportunity. I think one of the silver linings of COVID, if there were any, was um, opportunities to get an education from home or opportunities to even garner employment while working from home full time. I think that the using computers and technology to take away those barriers was so awesome and so incredible and still really cool. We are seeing kind of a walk back of that, it seems, with the new administration. There's seems to be maybe new regulation that doesn't want to support work employment opportunities from home or even educational opportunities from home. I really hope that we can realize how amazing and wonderful that is for this minority of people, because I think it really is a huge thing that can eliminate that barrier, like isolation, because it just opens up so many more opportunities to be accessed from home, and it's so much more accessible and easier for a lot of people. Doesn't even have to be like a higher level disability. I think for anybody that deals with any kind of disability, it can be a huge benefit.
Well said, Tom. Well said. I mean, definitely support, and there's a lot of folks out there that want to help, and getting the right help definitely is worth it to have them. To get through all this, these things that we've been talking about since we started here, um, these can really put you down. They can outright just make you want to quit on life sometimes. And so it's nice to think about our mental health and look into that. And uh, because you're going to go insane. I was just looking back. I think it was Tony. Shoot, just said waiting for to get on some of these programs. It takes a long time, and um, no matter what you're trying to sign up for, they just take a. Chris said it. It can be a long way to get into voc rehab, but it's worth it. Not only voc rehab, it's almost like most programs out there. Trying to get on low income housing. Literally now it's probably what 5 year wait. If you're trying to get into you know, and it just takes a long time to get into some of these programs and to make it worthwhile for you. So that is going to be a mental breakdown. Like I said, calling Social Security. We have somebody on my exercise program, and she was calling her Social Security, and I just kept telling her go down there, and everyone's like, "Yeah, but you need an appointment. You need an appointment," because she could not get on the phone with anybody. After 2 hours, it would hang up, and so finally, she just went down there, and the security guard stopped her and said, "You need to make an appointment over the phone." And she said, "I've been trying." But after 2 hours, it hangs up on me. And he goes, yeah, shoot, we're having that problem. Here, it's not very crowded in there. Go upstairs and they'll make an appointment for you. So she went upstairs, and 10 minutes later, she had an appointment. So, but just imagine if she didn't go over there and she just kept trying every day. It's just going to mentally wear you out.
Well, imagine if she lived, or an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours away from the local Social Security office, and there was no transportation program in place to allow her to even get to the Social Security office. And waiting on the phone for 2 hours and getting hung up on was the only option. What if that
Yeah.
was the case? And, I think that is the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And in that instance, you just suffer the consequences. And when I say that, you literally suffer. You suffer from additional stress. You suffer from additional health consequences as a result of this stress, and maybe, limited access to the finances you need to stay and maintain healthy. You have limited access to healthcare opportunities. It's like the snowball rolling down the hill. Like, it starts out small, but so much sticks to it, and it gains momentum, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're crushed, until you are just so defeated that you, just like you said, about you give up, or you get sick and you die. And that, thankfully, a lot of us have families and friends and people that can support us and help us survive in the interim while we're trying to, you know, receive these services or gain access to these benefits. But that is not the case for everybody. And if it's not the case for everybody, then that means that there's probably tens or hundreds or thousands of people that are dying when they don't need to, that are hungry when they don't need to be, that are suffering and in pain and dealing with stress and anxiety and depression when they do not have to be. And oh God, I don't know. It's like, it just fucking breaks my heart.
Yeah. And, I do have to say, and Leon mentions that all the time. And many of you mention it so many times that you come in here each week gives you that a little bit of support. And Grace Ella just said it ever since I met you guys at Roulette. I love coming here and talking to you guys. Thank you so much. And that's what we're hopefully here for, just for that little support. But we're not the only ones, that can give you support. There's others out there, and seeking it. Technology is great, Leon, and trying to dig in on the internet to find where you can get the right support for you.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I was gonna mention just Mickey did put in the chat that she qualified for being disabled, and it's one meal a day. They give her a dinner. That's the 450 that she had said that they send for the.
Yeah, and it was because she didn't need a doctor's note.
Yeah. So.
And this isn't. I think we got like 12 minutes left. We still got to do the ads, and we're certainly going to try to end on a positive note. And I hope that we can. But there is something else that we need to talk about too, if only briefly before we wrap it up, which is coming changes that might make like financial difficulty even more difficult than it already is for disabled individuals. Just last Friday, a lot of government officials that were in place to maintain regulatory agency over a lot of programs that benefit individuals with disabilities were fired and let go, so that these programs can be changed. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be changed to expand support and services for individuals. They're going to be changed to limit and reduce services and benefits for individuals, not just regular able-bodied impoverished people that rely on social welfare, but particularly disabled individuals. Today, there was a freeze put on all federal loans and federal grant programs. Now, the federal loans, I don't know too much to talk about, but I do know that federal grant programs are Medicaid and Medicare. They are EBT and SNAP. They are SSI and SSDI. These are the programs that they're talking about, and they're putting a freeze on. And you can expect repercussions and consequences to soon be felt. Today, in all 50 states, the Medicaid computer service was down, meaning individuals that were at ERs or at hospitals or at doctors' offices trying to utilize these federal services to receive health care, we're not able to. Or, you know, there's like now additional obstacles and barriers into receiving just simple basic health care. I mean, I've been dealing with bladder issues and in and out of the ER and the hospital, and dealing with really, really scary autonomic dysreflexia and stuff. And to think that like I could maybe go to the hospital today and not be able to receive meaningful healthcare services is fucking frightening to me. To think that in the coming months or years that SSI isn't going to increase, but it's going to reduce, it's going to be limited, and it's going to be cut, when the cost of living is increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing, and already way outpacing these social welfare programs that are meant to allow us to live adequately and normally. um, and I don't really know what to do other than to kind of feel scared and stressed. I I'm a little bit at a loss. I am a little scared, and I am kind of stressed, and I do have additional anxiety as kind of a result of all of this. While nothing is directly affecting me right now, I do know that there are individuals that are being directly affected today, right now, and that many, many, many thousands more in the coming months are going to be. And it's going to result in pain and suffering and stress that is all going to contribute to a decreasing our health and decreasing our well-being and decreasing our quality of life. And it's fucking scary. So we need to talk about it. I've said this before, like it's important to have a conversation, because if we're not talking about it, if we're not talking about how it's affecting us and the negative consequences, then nobody else is going to be talking about it, and nobody else is going to hear about it, and definitely no change is going to be made. I still am hopeful that there's checks and balances to check the powers that be, to not allow things to get so far off the rails that there is mass suffering and you know this on a larger scale. But I'm really, really afraid that that's exactly where it's heading. I mean, it's only been a week under the new administration, and we're already seeing cuts to healthcare. We're facing cuts to Social Security and benefits that so many people rely on. Um, it's so again, no solution, other than just feeling scared. But I do think it's really important to talk about, and all kind of come together to have a conversation.
Well, and I think, over time, the more that we can learn out there, we can come together here and talk about how to get through some of these situations, who is affected, what is affecting. So we'll keep an eye out for that, and bring that to you. I think this was a great discussion today. That the chat. Thank you so much for everybody. So many names. Probably our most active chat I think we've ever had. If you want to,
Different people in the chat. Cool.
yeah.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
And just
And
shout out to Shawn there. He's in that San Diego. He said, reach out. He's happy to help however he can. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, Sean Brady.
Yeah. Sean's
It's
known for quite a while too down in San Diego. Shout out. What's up, Sean?
shout out Shawn, Shawn number two.
From Shawn.
Um, um, it's just one more thing that I wanted to talk about to kind of on the more negative topic, and then we'll wrap it up and try to leave it on a positive note. Is we're not only facing increased barriers to receiving social services, reduced social services if we're even able to attain these resources, but we're also facing increased discrimination in the workplace and even trying to get a job. They have been laws in place for the last 50 years, 60 years to protect workers' rights, to protect and hold businesses accountable for discrimination in the hiring process and in the workplace, which the majority of disabled people experience at one point or another if they're trying to get back to work. Is those protections are now gone by executive order. That was one of the first things that was done. And so we're not even talking about losing access to social welfare services, but also maybe even the inability to attain meaningful work because businesses are now more easily able to discriminate during the hiring process, um, with no accountability, with no regulatory agency. And that is a very dangerous precedent. And it's a really, really, really scary thing. So let's all support one another. It's what Bobby said. We can still support one another. We can still support each other, your friends and your family and, even strangers. Like we just have to remember, have empathy for everybody, to have love for everyone and to remember like support support as many people as you can, if you're able to. Um, and that's not um, going out of your way to like not be able to support yourself. Like you have to do that first in order to like help support other people. But just by sharing a few kind words or a smile or a hug or just acknowledging that someone's having a hard time, can go a really really long way into supporting someone else. And it's a really important thing to remember, I think.
Leon said it best. Let's stand up for each other. No pun intended. So,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, shout out the chat. This conversation, the chat's been popping off, and I think it's super, super cool. Um, so shout out all of you guys. Thank you, everybody. Quad Forager, Gretchen, Marilyn. I know there's a bunch of names. Shawn, um,
we just had a
everybody.
new uh, CYPTO quad. Welcome in.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, y'all are a part of the Loop Roll family, and that's one of the reasons I think all of us were motivated to make Loop Roll what it is now and like do these weekly shows is to be a source of support and love that we can share. All share with one another. So that's what we're here doing, and so we're gonna keep doing.
Yeah, man. Exactly. Let's be here to support each other and be a little bit of a community. You guys can lean on each other in the chat and kind of just be here. Yeah, just like you guys are saying, just support each other, stand up for each other.
Yeah, because we are, Gretchen said it right now, we are in uncertainty times right now, and it can be scary for sure. So we will try to get some information out to you as we find out and maybe have more of these great discussions as we did today.
Yeah.
And also, Chair Life. I think Chair Life said, somebody said that, you got to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Getting out and advocating for yourself, as much as it pain sakes. And, we shouldn't have to sit here all day long on the phone, but calling your legislators, and getting your voice out there, tell them that this is not fair. Have them fight for you. I'm sorry, it was cryptic.
Um,
Go on.
No, Chair Life said it too. It's been my experience that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Call and advocate for yourself. And yeah, just to echo what Bobby said, super important to do that. My big fear is that the barriers are going to become so tall and the walls are going to be so, thick that it's going to be so discouraging and so difficult that maintaining that will and that strength to advocate for yourself is going to be even more difficult when it already is super difficult. Um, I'm really hoping that we can course correct before things do end up that way. But in the meantime, just have to continue to dig deep and find that strength and that will within us to continue to do that and help support
Absolutely.
those that can't, because there's always going to be those that can't advocate for themselves, and it is our responsibility as brothers and sisters in humanity to advocate and support not just for yourself but for those who can't, to be a voice for those who can't have a voice. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well said, and exactly. It's what we're here for, and that's I think an important part of humanity, being a human, regardless of disability or whatever. Just kind of uniting together and being here to support one another.
I
But yeah,
read this I read this thing online. It was a military psychologist who was in charge of like maintaining like the prisoners during the Nuremberg trial, and he thought a lot about the kind of the root of evil, and like what makes someone evil or what makes someone do an evil act. And the conclusion he came to is the most significant thing shared between all of these individuals that did such evil, unspeakable acts against other human beings is they all lacked empathy. They all lacked empathy for the individuals that they were suffering upon. And I think it's just so, so, so important to remember and consider how other people are feeling. Because if you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes, even just for a short time, it can help expand your horizons and your ability to understand difficulties that other people are faced that you maybe don't go through on a daily basis. And I think it's just really, really important to remember, um, to have empathy for one another and to love one another. Anyways, I'm gonna stop talking. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
well, that's well, no, it is. It's an important. It is something that's super important and a good topic to talk about. So, um, definitely, I'm sure we'll open this back up again sometime soon here and continue talking about this stuff. And for let's also financially go ahead and thank our sponsors, mobility professionals, urology professionals, because without their support, I probably couldn't even continue doing this stuff because they're just, it is, financially tough as living with disability. And so
And
we,
running a business, and if you want to call it
and
this, and
yeah,
I
without
really
them to help
a
cover
lot.
the overhead for a lot of this stuff, it would be very difficult to do. So, very much appreciate our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Mobility Professionals is a local DME here in Southern California. So, if you need anything like a wheelchair, commode chair, standing frame, anything like that, please give them a call. The information's down below. They can help take care of you, get you set up with insurance and everything, and switched over. And then Urology Professionals is their sister company. They're nationwide, so anywhere in the country, if you need catheter supplies, give them a call to get them shipped directly to your doorstep. Nice and easy. They'll help you with insurance and all that stuff as well. So thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to everybody who's watching. And appreciate all you guys in the chat. Tell them everybody loves your passion. Gretchen mentioned in the chat. We honestly love all of you guys.
Yeah, love all you guys.
Yeah, just coming and supporting. So any support you guys give, it's really really great just being in the chat and watching and coming back every week. But
Yeah.
Uh, I
And
haven't talked to Shawn about it yet, but T Vizzle I think is going to try to come back tomorrow to do a little cooking food prep episode. I think I'm going to try to do a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We'll chop up some apples and do a little apple peanut butter dip and stuff. So I'm not going to be gaming tomorrow, but I'm going to try to do a little food culinary T Fizzle cooking episode.
Love it.
And just keep things simple. So I'm gonna work to get all that set up, and yeah. So if you feel like joining us tomorrow at 3:30, be doing a little bit of food prep, talking about independent living and trying to make that happen.
All right, awesome. Yeah, guys, so check that out. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe and click that little bell for notifications. That way you do get notified when there's live going on. So it'll pop up right there on your phone or whatever you like to watch your YouTube on, and let you know that Tom's going live. I'm going to be doing some cooking and talking, and yeah, come hang out, join the discussion, and see what Tom's up to. And then on
Yeah.
Thursday, this is actually the fifth Thursday, so we don't have one of the aging or women shows, but we are going to do a bonus live. I was going to see if you guys, either one of you guys, wanted to join, hop on. I'm going to invite a couple other people. And we'll just kind of have a bonus hangout live, really free form hanging out. Just and it's actually the day before my life day, so it's kind of cool. Just hang out and do that. So.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's always a
And
good topic.
maybe continue some of this conversation as well too.
Yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely.
Sounds good.
all right, you guys. So we will see you then. See you Thursday and tomorrow as well if you want to hop on, hang out with Tom. And yeah, everybody, thanks for watching. We do appreciate you guys. Live to
And
roll.
and I know we talked about mental health, but somebody just said it. Find your local support group, whatever it may be. Get online. They're online, so you don't have to go to out of your house. Please find a local support group. They work awesome. If you need help or suggestions, we know where those you if you're in another state, you can join our online support groups. That we there's one on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday here in Southern California. So let us know and get involved with us.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes it's hard to find a local one you can actually physically go to, but online there are
Yeah.
plenty. And just because a lot of people would be based here for those Triumph Online ones, it does not matter. It's still great people to talk to, and going through the same things you typically are. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you guys next time. Live to roll,
Let's
Peace
everyone.
out.
roll.
Live to roll.